Okay, here we go. Dun, 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 dun. I really love
Live
doing these
again.
lives. Yeah,
I love talking about yoga.
me too. It's my favorite thing to talk about, actually, ever, ever.
My boyfriend this morning, I was like, I gotta go live. And I'm like, I don't know what we're talking about today. And he's like, you're talking about yoga. I was like, well, that's a big subject, babe.
It is. It really is. There's so much, every single thing. I was talking to a client yesterday and she was like, you give me like one little piece and I can just go down the rabbit hole like for weeks on just that one subject, right? Like there is so much, especially like in a beginning or just in any piece of yoga, in any of it. And that's why I love it so much, because it is the umbrella for everything that I've ever studied in my life when it comes to holistic health, healing, how to move, how to breathe. Like it just brought everything together in one place.
Agreed. Agreed. I think a lot of people, we have that experience. Like we're looking for something that can thread all the parts of our lives together. Like how can we get a better understanding of everything? And yoga really helps like create that umbrella of like, all right, this awareness, this consciousness, these practices.
Yeah, that's why they say, yoga is my church. Like I had different parents had very different religions and I was very spiritual, but I wasn't sure that I wanted to be either one of what they chose, right? And I found a place where on my yoga mat, like I could move spiritually and my movement could mean something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So today, here we are, Stella Luna Yoga School. I'm Stella.
And I'm Jessi.
And we run, of course, a yoga certification program. And we also run a DIY, do-it-yourself yoga for the householder. And today we are going to talk about Sanskrit and why we use Sanskrit. So Sanskrit is the yoga language that you're going to hear in yoga class. Most of us are familiar with words like namaste and om. And yeah, it is an entire language that is not spoken. It's not a language that we have conversations in, but was used to like pray, if you will, or meditate. And that's where we get the word mantra, which is really like a hype word these days, like, oh, I'm doing my mantra, which would be like my affirmation.
Yeah, and it's one of the oldest human languages. One of the oldest. It's a vibrational language. So when you are speaking Sanskrit, you are evoking the consciousness, the essence of that word. And I think oftentimes, in English, we don't necessarily have words for things. Something like prana, or chi. We would probably use, we're like, oh, the life force vitality, the energy that animates us into being. We're trying to kind of reach for the essence of what is prana, what is chi. And we're like, but Sanskrit, prana, this life energy.
Right, the vibes, like I'm such a high vibe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And English, well, Sanskrit is the mother tongue of English, right? And so interesting, if you like really go past like Greek and Latin roots, you'll see that Sanskrit is the root of our language. So I think that's pretty cool. And it's a vibrational language, which it's only Hebrew and Sanskrit, which are vibrational languages. They're meant more to like be sung or like hummed instead of spoken. And I think it's really interesting too, like in our languages, we call it like peace, which is like a very short, hard sort of word, like peace, right? But like shanti, shanti is such a soft, smooth word for the vibration of the energy of the prana that it's bringing into your life, right? Like shanti is so much more peaceful than peace, right? Like peace is kind of hard, where shanti is super sweet.
Mm-hmm. And so, in one of the reasons in our teacher training why we teach Sanskrit, or just the basics, especially in our level one, is just the basics of, because it makes yoga a universal language. So you could be, if you know the Sanskrit terms for each of the poses, I think you know the essence of those poses, the higher consciousness of those poses. And then also you could teach yoga in any language, really, or to anybody who speaks any language. So it makes it a very universal language. And it also, like pays homage to the classical form of yoga, which I think is really important. It's not, yoga is not just a workout. It's not an exercise program. It is a science. It is a technology. It's about learning how to align your own inner energies. And when you align your inner energies, things start to work out a little more smoother in your external world. And I think that's it's an important thing to use Sanskrit, use like where this yoga came from, and to use the language, that the classical form of the technology when you're teaching it.
Right. We believe in honoring that time tested true tradition as much as we possibly can. There is so much, dare I say, whitewashed yoga out there, right? Where we have all of these yoga gyms and people that don't want to Om and don't want to use this. And they feel like that's like exclusive, right? Because maybe you don't understand it. But the truth is, we're here to teach, to understand something new, to expand our mind and our consciousness, and bring something new in. And that's what yoga is. And I mean, I think it's great if you do go to a yoga gym and you're really enjoying that, because it's going to open the door for you, right? Like it's going to get into you because you're going to embody those poses, because the poses are created for your endocrine system. They're created for your chakra system. They're created for your energetic system. They're created for your prana, right? So it's going to work on you no matter what. And like, there's something to be said for a lost ritual and like the lost art of having rites of passage and learning these, like you said, like the science behind yoga, because truly science is something that's been tried over and over and over again to get to a result, right? And there's so much talk about science these days. So when we've used something for thousands and thousands of years, and we know that it gets you this result if you do this, that's why yoga is just mind blowing. And that's why Sanskrit is so important for us. And maybe we don't say everything perfectly, and that's okay, because we're coming from our heart, right? Like we're coming from the heart and the essence of doing our best to respect this practice.
Mm-hmm.
And that respect is huge. So maybe I say the Gayatri a little bit different, or maybe all of my syllables aren't perfect, right? But I'm not saying that I'm going to asana when I know that the word is asana.
Asana. Asana, not asana, everybody. Asana.
It's true.
Yes. And
Yeah.
it feels so pretty saying it. It just definitely takes practice. But it gets easier with practice, and that's what we teach, is just like the basics. We start with the basics, and creating this universal language, this union around this science. So we can, and the languaging, the Sanskrit really helps with that.
Yeah. And, there's so many different names for all the different poses, and there's different ways to spell them, and there's different ways to say it. And I might lean this way and call it a quarter moon, and you might lean that way and call it a half moon, right? And when we use Sanskrit, it's going to bring that universal thread through so that at least we kind of know where we're going, right? Because whether we call it monkey pose or gorilla pose or whatever, new name the new school has come up for it, at least we are embodying the essence of the energy of that pose. And I think that's what's really the important part.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So again, this is why we think Sanskrit's really important. And again, you don't have to be perfect at it, right? I don't have anybody upset at me because I said it a little bit incorrectly. I barely sometimes feel like I speak English properly. Like, we've also lost the art of speaking standard American English. So that's okay, right? And we all have our colloquialisms and where we come from, and we say things a little different. But it's about, again, respecting this tradition. And that's why we feel like it's important to do our best to use Sanskrit in our classes.
Absolutely.
So don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you guys have any questions, we're always here to answer your questions. We love to talk about yoga. We could literally talk about this for hours, which is why we have a yoga school and online program, in person and hybrid. So reach out to us. Have the best day ever. You're totally worth it.